So thank you for coming to our webinar today for how to get your account ready for 2021. Assuming that you are all BillTrack50 subscribers or perhaps just curious at seeing the inside, but thank you for coming. I'm excited to show you the new features and especially how they interact with rolling over this year and your housekeeping this year. So I've made a little presentation. Let's get started. So hi, I'm Karen. Usually I have Michael along. Maybe I still will and he will come. But right now it's just me. So I'm going to try to wrangle chat and questions. So hopefully I will notice if you ask me something, please ask if there's something you would like to see and I will get into it. All right, so starting with an inspirational quote before anything else, preparation is the key to success. So this is us planning to be successful. Okay, here we go, getting ready. So we're gonna talk about the features of the new BillTrack50 that you should be aware of, and we'll fly through them pretty quick in case you already went to one of those webinars, but I just wanna highlight a few things for you. And then we'll talk specifically about housekeeping and how it works this year, and then rollover, moving up to 2021 and forgetting all about 2020 and how that's gonna work this year. All right, so here we go. The new BillTrack50. So we have a new alerts display, a new navigation panel, a new grid, which is great. I hope you're really loving the grid, especially if you've been in it all this year. The bunch of new query options, persistent sessions, and then we've made a lot of changes to make BillTrack50 more friendly on mobile devices. So you'll notice each of the things on this panel or this slide is a link. I will be mailing you this presentation after the, tomorrow you'll get it automatically. And so you'll have articles about each and every one of these things if you want to take a deep dive. And then the biggest change is user management. So we'll be chatting about that. And I'll point out a few of the scorecard updates. And then of course, all the different ways you can get help. All right, and we've got Michael. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so I am going to pull up my account and let's do this thing. All right, so BillTrack50, you know it, you love it. So the persistent sessions is the first thing I wanted to point out, this little remember me box. If you check that, it's no longer going to kick you out after a certain amount of time. Your login is good for a month. So only do that on your own computer, obviously, or your own phone. Don't do that at the library. Of course, you're not going to the library right now, but you know what I mean. So that is persistent sessions, been a big help for me. I'm sure, Michael, that has been a huge help for you. And what, I just saw you, what is going on? You look like you're in prison.
In prison? Oh, it's the sun. I've got lines. Yes, everybody, I've got bars on my face.
It's Michael here to lighten the mood. Okay, now we have this new summary grid. So this is going to show you just a summary by bill sheet of everything that has happened yesterday. So the old BillTrack50, of course, had all of your bill sheets and you had to go sorting through to figure out what happened. Now we have it just line by line, one per bill sheet. So out of all my bill sheets, only these two had a change. And I can sort on any of these columns to see like which had the most votes or whatever. So this is hopefully, if you've got a lot of bill sheets, going to be a great way to see what actually changed and to sort and see like what you need to focus on, if that's new bills, if that's votes, and get you right to the information you need. So we only added this towards the tail end of this session, but Michael, did you find that useful?
Yeah, I do. It's nice, especially when you track a lot of different issues like I do. It's nice to see not only key things, but it allows you to see trends. You can see different things if things are dropping off or staying persistently. Makes it a whole lot easier to see those kinds of things pop up.
And I imagine this year it'll help us all see when Illinois drops their bills, because all your sheets will have a bunch. You can still get to the old checkmarky thing by saying, give me the details, and we'll still show you like what exactly is going down, and you can dive into those. So that's still there, but yeah. And you can click, of course, on the name of the sheet to get to it. Oh, and getting to the sheets, that is our new nav panel. Woo! Okay, so this is just how the internet works now, nothing surprising here. So you can open up these sections and get directly to your things. If you have too many things, it bill sheets 99. And when you click on it, it'll just take you to your list. And they're all arranged the same way so that they have the view all at the top. So I can go directly to the thing I want, or I can say view all. And that'll take me to my entire list. And what's important about the view all is that's where the new button lives. So for all of these different things, go to view all if you want to make a new one, and that will add it to your list. That's about all there is to navigation, except that the quick search is now over on the side. So this only searches bills. If you want legislators, it now lives over here, and you can still search bills. So that's the navigation. You can click on the logo to put it away, and you can click on the logo to put it back. And if you want to get out to the home page, here are the different links to get back outside of your account. All right, so the new grid. Let us talk about marijuana, shall we, Tom? So this has been on my mind, all these marijuana bills. So I've got, let's see, 353 bills in here. But I'm curious, I already narrowed this down to how many were signed. But how many mention marijuana, but with an H? Aha. So we've got 30 marijuana. So 10 of them have marijuana with an H. So this new filter is column by column, and it knows what kind of data you've got. So now I can say less than, greater than. For numbers, I can pick stuff off of a calendar if I want to say things that had an action since a certain date, and then it'll let me actually pick a date. So this, hopefully, the filter is going to be super handy. It's got all these options. I think you're going to like it really well. You can sort as you ever could, but now you can double sort. So if I want to sort by the state and then by the bill number, then I can hold shift down and do a double sort, all of that. Okay, so that's all fine. The moving around in the grid is now you can do it with your arrow keys, which is handy. And then if you want to enter data into the grid, you still double click like you used to, or if you hit enter, it'll open up the box and you'll type right into the grid. So as you start taking notes and setting positions, I think you'll really like entering it straight into the grid too. That is a pretty big improvement. And then we have this grouping thing, which is fun. So I'm looking at just past bills, but I can say, grab my state and drag it up, and that will show me, oops, I'm way over the side here, how many bills in each state passed. So that's kind of fun. And then you can double group. So I could then say, show me bill progress. And then when I open it up, it'll show me how many in each progress, except I already narrowed it down to just signed. But you get the idea. Anything that you have liked about the grid that I should point out, Michael?
If you hold shift down, you can sort by multiple columns, which I love.
Roger that, very handy. Oh, and it's now infinitely big. So you can make it as big as your monitor, which was a major item. And now it's completely like, it doesn't have pages at the bottom. It's just all 300 bills in here.
Oh yeah, love that part.
Combine your sheets, you can have tens of thousands of bills and it's still perfectly agile and quick. All right, so that is the new grid. Let me know if you've run into anything that's weird about the grid that you want to ask about. Again, questions, chats, Michael will keep an eye on that. All right, then on to the query changes. So these are the last several things that we've added in have been the query changes. So we've got a little grabby bar. This can now be more characters than it could before. So I think it's up to 500 characters now. We've added bill type, which is really nice. Michael, I'm sure you love that. So that you can get rid of resolutions and memorials, or maybe just memorials, and narrow down your sheet without trying to do that with a none of. So if you are using like resolution and resolve in your none of to try to get rid of resolutions, much better to take that out of there and just start narrowing down using our bill types.
Yeah.
Bill progress is much the same, except we broke vetoed out from dead, which is just sensible. I should never have combined them, but we fixed that. And then importantly, session years Now you can just say current session so that your bill sheet will just roll over for you. When we get pre-files, they go into the current session. So right now, anything from 2021 is considered current, plus anything from 2020. On January 1st, all of the 2020 stuff will fall out and you'll have just 2021, except for New Jersey, which has a 2020-2021 session. So New Jersey will stay put. For say Virginia bills and other bills that are going to carry over, those are in as pre-files. And so you'll see the carryovers will stay put for 2021. All right, and then the most recent change is the committees. So you can now filter by committee. So if you want to see all the bills that are about marijuana, but you are particularly interested in health, and not so much in the criminal, then you can say, just give me, and start typing in or pick these like you would bill numbers. So just pick which committees that you want to track, or you could do it for criminal justice or whatever. So you can narrow down your topic by what committee they went through. And that's going to be by any committee it has ever been assigned to, not by the committee it's in now. So we are intending you to use the committee as, what kind of bill is this? But you can also search and say, show me everything in my state that is just this committee. So there is a post with all the details about how you can make committee work for you. Michael, have you even tried that yet?
I haven't, but I do intend to be using it next session. So January. Lots of different, we're looking at hydrogen, but specifically want to look at transportation. So
perfect. That's
we're going to try that out.
Great example. So hopefully at least some of those features are going to be very helpful. So you'll want to tweak a few of your queries. Okay, then the biggest changes are in user management. And so this is where we really need to chat. So thank you for coming and hearing this because it matters. So user management. So we've got manage account, which is the same as it ever was. That's where you can pay your invoices and stuff like that. Manage users looks much the same, but now when I go in there, I've got a whole other set of permissions than I used to. So this screen is probably the most different of the new BillTrack50. So I'm editing Michael here. So I can make him a security administrator.
I'm not going to get fired by webinar, am
I? Surprise. So you still have the company administrator. The only thing special about them is they can set the subscription and pay the bill. Security administrator lets you add users now and change user permissions. So you can actually set up someone else to add users if that's appropriate. So you now have that be several people. And then template administrator lets you obviously edit the templates. And so that one is the same as it used to be. Now, we used to have bill sheet administrators, and we used to have a rule that if you were not a bill sheet administrator, you could not make a bill sheet. That is completely gone. So that whole idea is gone. So now anybody that you add to the account can make their own bill sheets or can make their own stakeholder pages. Or if you have a regulation subscription, can make their own regulation sheet. So people can make whatever you have rights to. So everybody can make their own little searches. But when they create a search, it's private to them and only in their account. So it won't show up in your account. It won't show up in everyone's account. So it won't clutter up everybody else's account. So now you can legitimately have an account with a bunch of people in it, all doing their own thing, and 2 or 3 sheets that you're sharing. So here's how you set that up. On the bill sheet tab, you say what they should be allowed to see. So this is what Michael can see when he logs in. I know that he likes autonomous vehicles, so let's let him have query choice. So that is the same choices as it used to be. And blockchain was probably for Michael. So view just lets that people see it, but they can get alerts and make widgets. Comment lets them write in the grid. Query gives them the query tab and the ability to change the query words and also remove bills. So query is the first time you can actually change what bills are on a sheet. So you don't get the X's until you get query. And then manage gives you the manage tab, which lets you change the grid, which lets you change the name, which lets you actually delete the sheet or copy the sheet. So that's the highest level. And then you can change the permissions for who else is allowed to see the sheet. But you can also, so this is how you would decide that a sheet that somebody created, it will be none for you. But if you want to see it, you can go in and turn it on, or you can turn it on for any other people in the account that should be sharing it. So you can still come in here and set up sharing, much like you could before. But by default, everybody has their own private space, and then the sharing is something that you go turn on. Importantly, you can also, I'm gonna not save those changes. I can also edit myself, so I am a concerned advocate. And so this is so important. This has turned out to be the best thing we did, which I didn't realize was going to be the best thing we did. Don't you agree, Michael? Editing yourself is like the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice.
So if you've been
especially if you have a lot of archived bill sheets, it's
exactly.
Really nice.
So looking at the people who are here, it's great to see some of you. Thank you for coming, all of you. I'm excited about every single one. But some of you have been using BillTrack50 for a long time, so this is going to be very valuable. You can hide from yourself any sheet you don't need to see every day in your little list. So if, like, I've got a bunch of sheets here and I only have a few of them turned on for myself. Importantly, you can go in and hide all your old archive sheets, so marked archived. So you can just hide those from yourself and then go back and get them when you need them. So that way they're not in your list. They're at the bottom and out of the way, but now you can just completely remove them and then just go get them when you need them. And if you've got some stuff set up that's just like running a widget or running a map, but you don't really need to see it and you're not interacting with it, you can hide it so that you don't accidentally mess it up, which is why that one's hidden. So it's driving something and I just didn't want to accidentally mess it up. So yeah, you can now hide anything from yourself that you don't need. So one of the major housekeeping things is going to be to just go in and tidy up, remove the sheets. You can delete sheets, of course, but if you think you might want to refer back to them, then go ahead and just hide them from yourself. So hopefully that is great news if you have a bunch of sheets, some of which you don't need anymore, but you're not ready to delete. Just come in here and set them to none, and then they're not in your way anymore. All right, so that is the user management changes. You can manage yourself, and now all users can add their own sheets, and then you can share sheets in between each other. All right, so we've got some improvements to our scorecards. So if you look at a specific bill, let me edit this. Lots of little changes, but the biggest change is now you can actually add a comment for each vote. So if you decide to override a vote, you can explain like why you gave it that score, or if you want to pick out a specific amendment and score it differently, you now have a way that you can put in a comment and then that will override the comment on your scorecard. So I won't belabor that. If you use scorecards and this was something you wanted, then you understand right away that that is completely exciting. If you don't use scorecards, I don't want to take up a bunch of your time. Other little things that you'll notice as you go through, the yeses and nos are now color coded. Green means it's a good yes. Red would be a bad yes. So now it's just visually obvious whether that was the right vote or not. So you'll see little improvements everywhere on the scorecards. We did a lot of work on them, but the major change is you can now put comments in at the vote level. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, and then if you want more help, as I pointed out, like all the blog and everything is down, accessible at the bottom, and contact if you want to set up a time with me or whatever. So that's all just at the bottom to pop you out to the main site if you need to. Okay, so that is the new BillTrack50 and the new features. Any questions about new features before we move on to actually doing your housekeeping and how the new features are going to impact that? And Michael, anything you think I forgot?
No, I think you hit everything, and I don't see any questions in the chat or the Q&A. So
all right, then live run through accomplished. Next up, housekeeping. Okay, so every year I ask you to do certain things for housekeeping. So reviewing users is a big one, and especially this year is going to be permission levels. And then doing your snapshots, I still recommend that, especially now that you can hide them from yourself. So no reason in the world not to do the snapshots if you've done any work at all. All right, so let's go and look at those two items. All right, so Reviewing users, of course, manage users. As I mentioned, the bill sheet administrator went away, but because we were trying to guess what you wanted for your users, we did our best to say, well, if they were a bill sheet administrator, then they should probably be a security administrator. That may or may not be true. So you're going to want to go through your users, obviously remove anyone who's no longer in your company or no longer should have access, add anybody that you need that's new. But look real quick at people's, just at their roles at least, and make sure that no one is a security administrator that you don't want to be a security administrator. And by the same token, if you've got someone that is going to be your backup that you would like to be able to actually add new users and change user permissions, give bill sheets to people, because they've got a group of people that they're managing, like their estate chapter, and you want them to be able to add people, great, then make them a security administrator, and they'll be able to manage their own people, share bill sheets amongst their own people. And in fact, we have a whole new level, a whole new enterprise version of BillTrack50 that gives you groups to make that even easier, so that you can put everything into a group, bill sheets, stakeholder pages, scorecards, and users into a group, and then just toss a new person in the group or toss a new bill sheet in the group so that it's shared with everybody, and everybody can see everything. So state chapters, or if you've got a legislative committee or something like that, that can be really handy. If it seems daunting to share a bill sheet with the people who need it, then maybe you should talk to us about enterprise level. Yay. Okay. So please do review your users. I always ask for that. And this year's is especially important because you want to make sure nobody has access that they shouldn't have. Okay, snapshots are the same as they were. So you just go to the Manage tab and take a copy. And then once you've got your copy, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this name. Copy this. And then I'm going to call it Honda's Vehicles 2020. I don't need alerts on this. Done. And now on the Manage tab, I can make it, I can archive it and save that. And now I've got a copy of this, all my comments, anything I've X'd out, all of that work is saved. And now I can go hide it from myself so that it's not in my list. Or if I'm not quite done with 2020 and I'd like to keep an eye on these, then you can leave it in your list until you're ready to retire it. And then you can hide it from yourself. So the snapshots is just the same. But do try to make a copy and then archive the copy, so that if your main sheet is shared with anyone else, if the main sheet is driving a map, if the main sheet is driving a stakeholder page, then that map will still work, as long as it's not the main sheet that you archive and hide. You want to make the copy what you archive and hide. All right. And then
All right, Karen, we've got a question. When is the optimal time to execute everything you are showing us right now to make sure 2020 bills stay in old 2020 sheets and 2021 bills get included in 2021 sheets?
Good question. Okay, so if you archive a sheet, you can leave the alerts on and it will still email you. But the query, this one I can't change anymore, so let's do term limits. On the query, if you set it to current session, then as soon as you do that, it's going to show 2020 bills and your new 2021s. So there's no reason not to do that right away if you would like this bill sheet to go ahead and roll over for you on 2021 and all the old bills to fall out. So you can do that anytime you like and you'll be ready. The new bills will continue to come in and just the old bills will fall off. However, if you have a widget and you don't want it to go blank, then maybe you want to wait till there's some new 2021 bills before you roll it over. Or if you're in a hurry and you want to see only 2021, then if you're on 2020 right now and you come in here and you try to move it up to 2021, you won't be able to. And then you'll get frustrated and write to me. And I'm very sorry that this is the situation, but the dot is a backwards dot. You've got to pull this one backwards. It's the bottom one, that's the forward dot. I don't know what that's about, but if you want to see just 2021 and you only have a dot, you're going to have to pull backwards so that you get the forward dot. Did that make sense, Michael?
It does. It's weird, but it makes sense.
So you got to pull backwards first, and then you can make your bill sheet just 2021 if you're already ready to just show 2021. But if you just set it to current session, great, you can do that anytime, and that's ready to go. Now, down here, the include bills, which very well timed question. The include bills, these bills you've added, we assume that you added on purpose, and we put them on the sheet whether or not they match the rest of your query. So they do not respect the timeline you've picked. They don't respect the keywords you've picked. They're just on here because you added them and we assume you want them. So we have given you this good handy remove button. So if I hover over remove, I haven't clicked, it'll highlight what bills are old bills. So these are bills older than 2020. On January 1st, it's going to highlight any bills that are older than 2021. So the remove tool, obviously you can just X these out if you don't want them anymore. And hopefully you've taken your snapshot already. The remove button will remove everything you don't need anymore with just one click, so that you can do January 1st forward. If you're not adding a lot of bill numbers, then this doesn't even matter. But if you have a lot of bills you've added by bill number, then I would recommend just waiting and using the remove tool early January, and that'll take out any of these bill numbers. So if you're gonna do that, maybe you wanna wait to roll everything over until early January. I don't know. For the other options, or the other things that I ask you to do or suggest you do, like review your alerts and just make sure that these are set like you thought they were. You know, obviously you can do that anytime as well. And reviewing your users, it would be better if you did that before the end of the year, but you can do that anytime you want as well. So when you create a bill sheet, by default, we do not send you alerts until you are ready for them, until you ask for them. So you may have created a bill sheet and forgotten to turn on the alerts. So that's why we suggest that as long as you're in here, taking your snapshots, moving your timeline forward or switching it to current year, you go ahead and just check the alerts and make sure they're how you thought they were. You know, and glance at your query terms and decide if, especially this year, decide if maybe you want to get rid of resolutions or memorials and slightly tweak your words. So as you're going through here anyway, it makes sense to just kind of glance at all of that. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. No, I'm not. Do that. Right. Did that answer the question? Did that, hopefully? So I would suggest doing that nowish. And then if you do have a lot of those bill numbers, just kind of come back whenever you get back to work in the beginning of the year and just remove the ones you don't need. Or if you've got tons of that, just wait and do it all at once in the beginning of the year. All right, so that is the out of session bills. Oh, and then on regulations, and again, you can do this anytime. We don't have sessions for regulations, of course. They just happen all the time. So if you are following some regulations, you might want to come in here and just see what you've got your date set to, and maybe you want to move it forward. Michael, seriously, now you look like you're in a Queen video. So the start date is, yeah, where we're doing regs back to. So you might not need them all the way back to 2018 anymore. Yeah, anything else that you do to get your regs ready, Michael?
Yeah, no, well, I generally change the date as I go through. But that's because I put them into a regulation that we're following category, and so then the smaller categories we can just move forward. So I know that they're definitely cut off ones that we've gone through.
So you're plussing out the ones you want to follow.
Yep.
And then you just move these forward. That makes perfect sense. By the same token, probably double check that you're getting the alerts you expected for your regs too, in case you created a new search and just somehow didn't ever get around to clicking that you want the alert. All right, so then that is it for rolling forward regulations and all of the review you should do. And once a year, it just makes sense to do all that. And then once you're done, go ahead and go to your website and make sure your widgets are still working, or your map is still working, or your stakeholder pages, whatever you've got sharing on your website, if anything. Just make sure it's all still working and that you didn't accidentally delete something you needed or, you know, mess something up. And it's just a good idea to just double check your widgets are working once a year anyway, just in case something has gotten crossed up. If it has, good chance that we can get it straightened out. So drop me a note and we will get whatever it is solved. Or if you know what you did, just undo it. You can now, you couldn't before, but now you can unarchive a sheet. So you can actually go back to a sheet and unclick archive if you archive the wrong one. So now you can fix that yourself. You don't need me. And that's because we've changed how we're charging. Right. So that is it as far as, I think I just blew through 2 sections worth. I think we talked about rollover as well. Sorry, I just naturally segued into that. So remember, you've got the current session, so it can move forward. The timeline will include, for New Jersey, for example, it's 2020, 2021. So the 2020 bills will stay in your bill sheet. If you just use that remove, it knows that New Jersey should stay put. And then next year, when half the states should stay put, it knows that and it will leave them. Pre-files, they should start coming into your account. So far this year, we've been getting them pretty quick. So usually not the day or the day after, but maybe the day after that, we start getting the bills coming in. It depends on the state and how much they've changed over the summer. But they've been distracted with other things and states haven't made as many changes to their websites as they often do. So in a small way, that has helped us get the pre-files going through. However, we've also had a bunch of special sessions running while the pre-files are coming in, and that's just a mess. And so that's been a little bit tricky, and we've held off on bringing in a few pre-files, hoping that they would finish their special session, but then they closed because somebody got coronavirus. And guys, I hope you've had a good year. I hope next year is better for all of us. All right. Right, top dot hats go backwards. I'm sorry, I don't know why the dot is that way, but it is. And then I mentioned about removing and when to remove and regulations, and that just has a time frame. Makes sense to check it once in a while. If you don't need several years worth of regulations, then don't have them. Okay. Mention the review as you go through. You're in the query tab. Just make sure the words seem reasonable and make sure your alerts are what you wanted. When you're done, make sure your widgets and everything are working. Okay, we did all that. I'm not going to do another run through. We're done. We did that. Okay, extra credit. As you know, you don't automatically renew, so you can go in and renew or just drop me a note. If you aren't signed up to our newsletter, that's where we've been announcing all of these improvements as they've rolled out. We've got a few. We're not going to do anything to BillTrack50 in January or February, probably. We're going to let it settle while everybody's focused on trying to get your bills through, so nothing's going to move out from under you during the height of the season, of the sessions. And then we've got some more improvements that we're hoping to make, as always. Hopefully you've enjoyed these. We've got some more ideas. Always interested in your ideas. There's a great way to just see what we're up to, and we try to give you a heads up for what is coming, and then explanations of what we've done. And the app keeps getting better. So check that out if you want. And of course, we got our mobile stakeholder pages, so you can now publish your stuff to the app. And also, BillTrack50 itself should be much better on your phone. So if you just go in and log into your site from the browser, it should be better. A number of the things that we've done to the grid are going to make it work better on your phone or on your pad. So if you have not been using BillTrack50 on your phone because it wasn't great, it's now at least mediocre, I think. So you can try it again if you want to check that out. Okay. So that's the new features, and especially how they interact with the rolling over and housekeeping process. Any questions? Anything, suggestions, thoughts? Anything you want to talk to Michael about? Comments on the year?
I'm not seeing any questions, so
all right, so
might be done.
Yeah, Michael, you want to take half a minute to say what you think is going to how the sessions will unfold next year? What are you expecting?
I think if you're in a state with a fast session, it's going to be all coronavirus related. A lot of economic development, a lot of rebudgeting. you know, stuff related, whether, education, telehealth, but primarily coronavirus related. I think January, February, March, April, you're going to see heavy in that space. If you're in a state or watching states that go beyond April, I think you'll start seeing legislatures get back to normal. So as they have time to do more stuff, I think you'll start to see that, but
But
probably not until April.
a continuation of the things they figured out for remote testimony and that kind of thing.
I hope so. Which reminds me, the events tab, the events alert on BillTrack50 should be a lot better. States have gotten a lot better about posting hearing dates and figuring that out, just because so much of the legislatures have been remote. So that's a good thing to use. It's gotten a lot better this year. States who haven't been as digital have figured out how to do it. So you're seeing a lot more hearings online, both video and audio, and the ability for remote testimony, which is, great. Given the circumstances, definitely a need, but one of the things that I really hope carries over, because it gives people, like me, the ability to testify in 2 different states on the same day if I have to,
I feel like
and
it's
kind of
literally
manage
dedicated,
clients in ways that work that way.
and more of us can just listen in on the hearing when you couldn't have otherwise. All right, so Tom, is it possible to include bills going to the floor? That is such a reasonable request. That is something that I need to really look into. So no, but I want to. So that is a perfect kind of request you guys should be throwing at me, so that we can make it better and more like you want. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully this was useful and you feel ready for the new year. Very interested in any feedback you've got. Obviously, drop us a note anytime you like. And good luck in 2021. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.